John, I think a lot of this case in your state was centered around, I think there's a hospital at Vanderbilt. Is that right? Am I remembering that detail accurately? I think that I am. It's scary to think that so many medical professionals have been captured by this warped ideology, but it certainly seems true, doesn't it?
It's happened so fast, too. I mean, that's the craziest thing about this. 5 years ago, nobody would have thought you'd have a case in the Supreme Court arguing this issue. And we've just seen the numbers fly up. And, this is the first constitutional case the court has taken looking at gender identity issues. We have litigation all over the place. We got, sports, we got bathrooms, pronoun cases across the country. The lower courts need clarity. Yeah. And I really hope that we're able to convince the Supreme Court of an appropriate path forward here, because things have gotten way different than they were when I was a kid very, very quickly.
I will say the undercurrent of the argument that the government brought today and the ACLU brought was that this is sex-based discrimination based on immutable characteristics. That was all blown up by Justice Alito when Alito pointed out and asked a question, are there men who are born, later say they're women, and then return to being men? And their lawyers had to admit, yes, in fact, that is true. And Alito said, well, then by definition, that is not immutable. Yeah. And so there goes their argument. And I think if the court has, the sanity I think is there, they will be victorious. We will be victorious at the end of the day.
You couldn't just say that, though. You know why you couldn't say that, President Biden? Because you had been telling us it was the last thing that you were going to do. And why did you say that? Why did Karine Jean-Pierre, remember how she said he will absolutely not pardon his son? It's all over social media right now. They kept saying it. It's everywhere.
Nobody's asked him in a long time. We are on the cusp of a new golden age in the United States, America, and hopefully on planet Earth, where the likes of Time Magazine and Van Jones are beginning to see the light. I wouldn't necessarily count on that sticking around, though.
As a whole, working to subvert it as hard as they can.
Rob, it's pretty evident that January 20th can't come a minute too soon for most of America. We are watching all of these frantic people trying to protect the last vestige of a deep state, uniparty, D.C.-based, bloated government that Donald Trump was elected to disrupt and blow up. And it needs to happen. And he's putting people in place that will make it happen.
They're just doing it. And the resistance isn't just at the federal level. Blue state leaders, governors, are lining up to resist what their own residents voted for as well. Illegal immigrants out of the country. That's what Americans want. They didn't want 20 million new people invading their country. They know this is unsustainable. They voted against it.
I would love to argue with Sean Hannity. How can I? Do you know what Sean Hannity used to do to me when I told him Kamala Harris had a chance? He'd laugh. Like literally, genuinely giggle. He'd go on TV and put on his straight face to y'all. You got to be concerned. This election could go either way. He laughed. He wasn't concerned about her. Before I called out Biden, he was calling Biden Sleepy Joe. What's percolating on social media today? Just go and look at it, y'all. Joe Biden is caught napping at an African summit in Angola for at least a full minute. They didn't say whether he was snoring or not. That's about all that was missing.
That he's the Politico story that he's toying with the idea of a preemptive pardon for Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, and Tony Fauci. Mm-hmm. I think Biden's approval rating is going to be about 15% when he gets done with this.
Yeah, I mean, what's remarkable is he is burning down his own legacies, such as it is, but he's also burning down his own party. The Democrat Party is absolutely furious with him because they went out twisting in the wind, saying he wasn't going to pardon his son because Biden told the country he wasn't going to go pardon his son. Right. And now you add this whole other cast of characters that most of the American people suspect have broken the law, engaged in highly unethical behavior. He's going to do blanket pardons for them. That is tipping the government's hand that these people engaged in real crimes, whether it's crimes against humanity, crimes against Donald Trump, crimes against the American people. This is a very dangerous road for him, but I guess he feels like he's got nothing to lose and he's going to go out in a blaze of these pardons and doesn't really care about his legacy because he probably feels like it's torched anyway.
We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. And the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams. And we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't.
I'd say that the fringe was identified as the mainstream, and now a lot of that is changing. Van Jones, who used to at least self-identify as a communist, I don't know if he still does or not.
The best way to rein in the power of the unions is to give more power to the families that actually have the greatest vested interest in each child. And you do that through policies that support education, freedom, and choice, and also through divesting or block granting from the federal level whatever Congress appropriates for a child's education, instead of sending it to a bureaucracy in Washington that adds all kinds of strings to it when it ultimately goes to a state or a local district, and also sucks up a lot of the money in Washington to pay the bureaucracy and to pay all of these alphabet soup of organizations that somehow have their hand into the pot. The best way to combat that is to really get the monies closest to the family, and ideally supporting the families, especially low-income families who have struggled the most with their children getting a proper education, and parents with children with disabilities and special needs. Those are two areas that there's federal law around, but that can be supported in a much different way than giving that power to the bureaucracy in D.C., which is effectively controlled by the teacher unions, the school unions, we should say, and all of the attending organizations.
As strange as it is to ask that question, I'm just wondering what you think.
Well, you know, the president, it's his prerogative. If he offers it to me or other members of the committee, I think I would accept it, but it's his choice. There's nothing that we kept out of the record. There's nothing that we took out of the record. So we stand by the work of the committee.
Well, if you didn't destroy records, you have nothing to worry about, right? Earlier this year, Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk accused the committee and the congressman of deleting lots and lots rooms full of records and hiding evidence before the Republicans regained control of the House of Representatives. So, Benny wants a commutation. I'd just like a pardon for the next 10 years.
Well, they are being handed out like candy right now. And I think there are two things going on. One is Biden wanted to say, listen, I'm not only pardoning my son Hunter, and both presidents of both parties would do this, but I think they wanted to sneak in a lot of these people. There was one, Selena Zito, a writer who knows a lot about Pennsylvania. She noted that Biden's commutation of former Luzerne County Judge Michael T. Conahan is vulgar. This judge, Conahan, he was the judge in the Cash for Kids case.
Immediately after my interview, I got a slew of angry phone calls from the White House that I didn't pick up. I don't know what they would have said, but I'm guessing they were pissed off. So I was pressured to say something on air that wasn't true. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, that's what happened. Number two, I don't want to get you in trouble, but what did you say? I said I don't want to get you in trouble. Well, they're gonna leave power in a couple more weeks. What are they gonna do to me? Not invite me to the Christmas party again?
No, I know. From the outside, it seemed obvious that he was a bad candidate. So to hear that on the inside, you were also getting fed this sort of.
Well, that was for Biden.
Lindy Lee spills more tea, and you're not going to believe what she has to say. Let's get into it. You guys have seen Lindy Lee making her rounds on different news stations as well as YouTube channels. But she recently went on the two-way platform with Mark Halperin, and actually Meghan McCain was there as well. And she spilled even more tea about the Democrat Party that you are not going to want to miss. They want to panic and say that Trump is going to ruin the country. He's doing this, that, and the other. But then you see there's reasonable people on the other side that can tell that it's BS coming from their own people. And if you call them out, well, they're going to crucify you and try to demonize you and make sure that you don't have a voice in their party anymore. And speaking about that, now Lenny is saying why she feels free to actually speak out about what has really happened in the Democrat Party and Kamala's campaign. Watch.
I feel like her decisive loss has emancipated me from my silence, because I held my tongue for years because I wanted democracy to prevail. Frankly, that was it. But now that she lost, I feel liberated to say things that I have felt for years, which is that the woke, progressive, it's just going to condemn us to the wilderness for the foreseeable future. And the fact that the DNC chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, just last week doubled down on identity politics. This is a losing approach, and he's still going full steam ahead. There's no remorse, no introspection. Not to mention the fact, you had Kamala Harris campaign senior advisors on the Pod Save America show, not demonstrating any sort of circumspection or self-analysis, and not taking any responsibility for doing things like spending $2.5 million in production costs, quote unquote, on Oprah, spending millions of dollars on five-star hotels for campaign staffers, putting her face on the Sphere for $450,000 a night. My donors donated anywhere from $10 to $25 of their hard-earned money to $1 million. Some of them paid in installments because it was difficult for them. They believed in the vision of America that Kamala Harris is espousing and democracy. They feel hoodwinked. They are devastated. And it's just, I've been punished for what I've said in the last couple of months. This is the first time actually that I haven't been invited to the White House holiday party or the Naval Observatory.